Hello and welcome to the Sleep Matters podcast from Dreams. Everything you need to know about how to get a great night's sleep and why it matters so much. I'm Dr. Pixie Mckenna, and today we're going to talk about pregnancy. And right beside me we have Ali Bastian, who is pregnant.
Exhibit A.
Yes, she's an actress, but she is not acting in this role. She's currently 6 months pregnant. And we also have Marie Hurworth. And Marie is an author. Mm-hmm. She's an NHS midwife. And she's an expert on all topics surrounding pregnancy. So I guess the first question is, how did you both sleep last night?
I have just moved, actually, and I haven't been sleeping very well at all. But last night, I managed to get a really good night's sleep because my boyfriend wasn't snoring.
Nice.
Gosh. And how about you, Ali, at 6 months?
Not too bad, actually. It's eventful at the moment, and every sort of trimester, I'm sorry, is it halfway into my second trimester?
Yeah.
So I'm definitely noticing, I am sleeping a little bit better at the moment, but still I'm up a few times in the night doing a few dashes to the bathroom.
Oh, gosh.
I do find that sometimes I wake up and I just don't go back to sleep, which is definitely a new thing for me because I'm usually the incredible sleeping woman.
Oh.
I feel like baby's got me in training.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh dear. How should you sleep when you're pregnant? What's the trick? Is there a trick?
There's no trick as such, but there are a few things that you can do. So usually I say to women, there's so many different physiological changes that happen to your body during pregnancy. And women struggle with sleep from the first trimester because of the massive fluctuation of hormones. And a lot of women suffer with night sweats. I think it's around 35% of women that get those night sweats in the first trimester. And then towards the end of pregnancy, your blood volume increases by about 50%. And a lot of that also goes to the surface of your skin, and that can make you feel warmer. So again, you might be feeling very hot, and not just at night, during the day as well. So part of it, those are just a couple of the basic physiological changes that happen. Of course, there's many, many more. But understanding sometimes what happens to your body and then learning how to work with it can just make a huge difference. So say, for example, sleeping with the room slightly cooler. So the heating that you might, especially this time of year, it's obviously quite cold, but sleeping with the heating perhaps a little lower than you would do normally.
I have insisted on it being off, actually.
Yes.
It's quite brutal
Even
for my husband and
the
animals in the house. But yeah.
But you're boiling in the night,
Absolutely, yeah. I really forgot that when you said about the first trimester as well. I was like, the night sweats. That was a thing.
And you're like, what's happening? You're soaked in sweat.
Everybody get away from me.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's understanding that can be normal and learning how to work with it as well, because, of course, you can minimize that by very simple things like turning your heating down. And then other things like loose clothing, maybe changing your bedding. These are all things that you can do to really help get a good night's sleep, and just making sure that the sleep environment is also right for you.
Is there a position? Is there a good position in which you should sleep?
Yeah, so it does change depending on how pregnant you are. But of course, as the baby starts to grow and continues to grow throughout the pregnancy, the weight of the baby can put pressure on the blood flow in the maternal circulatory system. And there is some research from 4 different wide-scale studies in 4 different places that have had shown an association between women falling asleep on their back and sleeping on their back with an increased risk of stillbirth. So now there's quite a lot of campaigning around encouraging women to make sure that they sleep on their side. However, sorry, you were going to say...
I'd read that as well, actually, when I was busy searching the internet for all of the information and probably scaring myself silly, but also, there's a lot to learn, I think, at every stage with all of this. And yes, I had read about side sleeping, so I really tried to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd also read about specifically sleeping on your left-hand side. But I'm really struggling with that, actually.
Yeah, don't worry.
I have really sore hips and back. And so I wake up to turn over. So that's another reason I'm waking up a lot through the night.
Yeah.
But yeah, I sort of alternate.
Yeah, and that's fine. There were some scary headlines that released in the media that didn't quite portray the research accurately. And yes, it's better to sleep on your left-hand side, but it's absolutely fine for you to sleep on your right. Oh. The most important thing is that you're not sleeping flat on your back. Right. And the position that you fall asleep in generally is the position that you sleep for in the longest. So if you are falling asleep on either side, that's absolutely fine, because baby will be getting nice of oxygen and nutrient-rich blood on either side. Okay. So don't worry too much.
Thank you.
What do you do if you're a back sleeper? So is it like you do for a snoring back sleeper, put tennis balls into your pajamas, or
never had that one?
Yeah, you set tennis balls into your pajamas and then you don't lie on your back apparently.
Yeah. So we don't actually recommend any specific techniques
just practice
like that. Just practice and just trying to fall asleep on either side, and making sure that, again, you are as comfortable as possible. So that can be introducing things like a pregnancy pillow to pop in between your legs.
Someone told me to go and get a pregnancy pillow, and it was like a large snake, for want of a better word, that I cuddled up with and absolutely adored until delivery, and then I never wanted to see it again.
Yeah.
Are they useful? Are those kind of things
They
useful?
are so useful. I absolutely love them. And actually, I've got one that is my guilty pleasure. And the contents of them are made out of these kind of little beanbag type. And it just wraps around your body and it molds to your shape. So in pregnancy in particular, it's really good, because when you do have a bump, sometimes it's difficult to get comfortable with regular shape and size pillows. So yeah, it fits around you beautifully. So I definitely recommend getting one of those.
I've got one actually. My husband got one for me quite early on, and it's been amazing. But it wraps all around me. It's like a horseshoe, and then it helps me as well not roll over onto my back. I think, because it's kind of, I can put it close behind me. So yeah, that's definitely a good investment.
Yeah, and breastfeeding as well. Sometimes they can come in handy as well for breastfeeding, and just propping up your arm if you do plan to breastfeed, of course.
So these things are good. I mean, are there any other things that are useful that maybe Ali could think of?
So things like at the moment at your 23 weeks, 24 weeks. Yeah, so at the moment you might not be suffering with any symptoms of pelvic girdle pain, or maybe you are.
Yes, welcome to my world.
Yes, okay. So getting things like a support band can really help with supporting the weight of the baby. And just really simple things like when you get into bed, a lot of women naturally, of course, we get into bed and open our pelvis to get into bed. So sitting on the edge of your bed and just putting your hands down and lifting your knees up simultaneously, that can really help just to ease any kind of discomfort. Yeah, so it's these little things that we do every day. If we can minimise these, then generally you can minimise any kind of discomfort that you're feeling. And when you're doing that before bedtime and getting in and out of bed, of course that's just going to help you get off easier, rather than lying there with that sort of throb in your pelvis that you might be getting. Yeah.
Are there any changes as the trimesters go on? So I suppose, are there differences in positions, or what we should be doing, or what's the advice in terms of helping us to get better sleep?
So with getting better sleep, there are some, there's some quite well known and researched do's and don'ts. As a midwife, I am a massive fan of hypnobirthing.
Oh yeah, I did that.
It's brilliant.
Excited and jumped in then.
Oh no,
it was so
go
good.
For it.
Yeah, I've done one day of it, and I've got another day a bit nearer the birth. But that already has been a real game changer. Yeah. And I listened to the audios like most nights. And
Brilliant.
That's really having now I sleep in about a minute and a half listening to them.
Yeah.
You just go out like
that itself is a sleep aid, and I do tell women that even if you don't use hypnobirthing at your birth, actually it's brilliant brain training. It really helps you get a better night's sleep. It helps to calm your mind, and all of those things are just really good for your body and also for your growing baby, because if we are experiencing high levels of stress for a prolonged period of time, we know that can actually reduce the blood flow to a baby. So, doing simple things like introducing hypnobirthing, breathing techniques, yoga, meditation, all of these kinds of things, they're a little bit buzzy at the moment, but they are also backed by hard evidence and science. So, and also, first-hand experience as a midwife, I know indefinitely that hypnobirthing has helped the majority. It doesn't work for everybody, but it has definitely helped the majority of women that I've looked after in my time as a midwife. So, utilising these tools that are really easily available and really low effort as well. You haven't got to spend thousands of pounds. There are free videos on YouTube that you can listen to.
Even just simple concepts for me at this stage that I found really reassuring. It probably sounds crazy, but it was just hearing another adult say, almost give me permission to kind of put myself first and to consider what I need right now, and all of those sorts of things that unfortunately for some unknown reason as women I think sometimes we find a little bit challenging. Yeah. And just having another person say that to me, definitely. I found that was a bit of a game changer actually. And even just the quality of the sorts of conversations I want to be involved in at the moment, what I want to watch on TV, and I had to own up to having a real passion for really dark, twisty, Scandi noir like murder stories, which is my favourite thing to watch, strangely. But that maybe that's not the one right now. Maybe I need to just be keeping everything just a little bit, I don't know, calmer and softer around me, and and I've been really trying to put that into place, and just my overall sense of well-being, I think, from that's kind of improving.
I always tell women from their booking appointment, if I see them in that appointment, that when you're pregnant, one of the first things that you should do is draw a sacred circle around yourself. That's and just have that as your sort of safe place and safe space around, because we need to look after ourselves at any time in our life, but one of the biggest tasks that the human body will ever perform is growing another human being. So it's really important that we do take that seriously as a society, as a culture, and on a personal level. And I think the more that we sort of maybe demands a bit too much of an aggressive word, but the more that we say, actually, no, I'm not doing that today, or, I'm not doing that extra bit of work that I said perhaps I do because I'm unable to do it at the moment, and setting boundaries for people, for work, and even for your friends, like, going to Christmas parties when you don't feel like it. It's really important to just say no, and just always remember to have your sacred circle around yourself.
I really like that image. That's really nice. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
And I suppose realising and recognising, as we do in all of these podcasts, what you do by day totally affects what happens at night.
Yes.
When obviously you've got the added complication of having someone else inside there. But that's very important, isn't it, in terms of things like your diet, your exercise, your stress, all of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
To get a handle on that. Are there any things that you should absolutely not do?
I think stress, of course, is a massive factor. So trying to make sure that you are as least stressed as possible. And
how do you do that? No, I'm joking. I'm trying at the moment. No, I'm just kidding.
It is really, really hard. But I think knowing where your stresses come from, and then addressing them. So I always tell women, face your fears and face up to whatever it is that is potentially stressing you out or troubling you. And then, because in order to solve something, first you need to understand it. So you need to look at exactly where that stress is coming from and be honest with yourself about that, and then look to manage it. But really, things like yoga and meditation are such fantastic tools with stress management. And there's a lot of stress that we can't really control and we can't do much about. But it is also learning, as I said before, when you can do something about it, learning to say no. But those are the main things, really, that you can do.
And what about, I suppose it's firefighting, really, isn't it, with those things that are going to keep you up at night? Your acid, your constant trips to the loo, your really kicking baby. How do you stop your baby kicking you at night? If you've got like a lively little one that's
so
bashing, tapping, going, hi, I'm here, you're not going to sleep.
I'm going, so I'm a massive fan of routine, and I think it works quite well for a lot of people. So to help with your sleep anyway during pregnancy, it's good to have a little routine. And I recommend lavender baths, if you like the smell of lavender, of course. That can be really nice. And then just listening to some music, maybe reading a book, and just really calming yourself down before you get into bed. And of course, there's not a lot that you can really do if you have an active baby at night. And one of the things about sleep and babies and children is that we can't actually force bodily function. So you can't force someone to sleep inside the womb or outside the womb. But what you can do is just control what you have around you and what you have available to you. So if you have a bath, have a nice lavender bath, for example, not every night, but a couple of nights a week, or when you feel like you need a little bit more self-care, and just setting a fairly strict routine for yourself in terms that you stick to it. You do the same thing every night if you can.
That does sound like very good advice. This is a hot topic at home for us at the moment as well, because both being actors, routine is just not something that's featured.
Yeah.
You know, we'll have it momentarily when we do a job and we're told this is what time you're getting in the morning and you're shooting all day, and we follow it like little soldiers and we're committed to what we're doing. But then when we're left to our own devices, the routine just kind of goes out the window. I'm like having a strong sense that this is going to be important moving forward. And it's interesting hearing you saying that, because I'm thinking maybe there are things that I can even establish now that will help me maybe in the months to come and when the baby's born, and you know, when routine is definitely going to need to be a feature.
I suppose that, which comes to one of our other topics we were going to discuss, is when the baby is born, sometimes that's when the hard work really starts. What's your advice in terms of sleep? Because now you've just got, you know, you've done this massive thing. You're probably exhausted. And hey, now you've got a baby.
Yes.
What do you advise new mums and dads?
So during pregnancy, I always advise that we talk a lot about birth plans, and I'm a massive advocate for a birth plan. And I do think that it's really important, because that's how you get to really understand all of your options. But a postnatal plan is also just as important. So it sounds cliche, but we advise women sleep when their baby sleeps. And a lot of women say, such ridiculous advice. I can't possibly sleep when my baby sleeps. I've got all of these things to do. But having a postnatal plan enables you to sleep when your baby sleeps. So things like building in extra support and any fixed dates that you know, for example, if or when your partner is going back to work, who's going to be around you at that time, having numbers on your fridge of people that you're able to call at 4:00 in the morning, for example, when you're struggling. All of these kinds of things build in support and enable you to sleep when your baby sleeps. And I always say to women as well, visiting time is not an opportunity for someone to sit on your sofa and cuddle your baby. Visiting time, you should view that as an opportunity for an extra pair of hands to get things done. And as a new mum, you shouldn't be making anyone anything other than a list of things to do. And traditionally what happens is people, you know, they'll sit, cuddle your baby while you're frantically shoving, you're shoving stuff in the washing machine, you've got the kettle on, you're trying to make tea, and that is just not what new motherhood should look like.
Again, it's that pressure we put on ourselves. I have people in my home and I think I suddenly want to present in a certain way and entertain them. Like, that's not got to go out the window, surely, at that point.
Definitely. You've got to go, hey, here's the iron. Here's the ironing board. Get to work.
Exactly. Only allow people around that are going to help. And, you know, when people ask, what would you like for the baby? Ask them to...
Lasagna.
Ask them to make you a banging homemade dinner.
We love the lasagna.
But, you know, these things make a massive difference, and they're actually quite small things that are really easily attainable. So, you know, having a postnatal plan, who's coming around when, who's doing what when, what about, you know, things that you might normally do that you would need relief from. Women often forget about that, and they set themselves up to do all of these things and laugh when I say, sleep when your baby sleeps, because they think, I've got all of these things to do. You physically can't do it all, and you're not failing by not doing it all.
She had a conversation with a lady getting on the train today to come here, and she had a 5-month-old baby, and she was chatting, she was like, you know, it's things like going to the loo, and I was like, how do you go to the loo? Like telling me how it's difficult. It's amazing how much when you get chatting to other women, how happy they are. Thank goodness to like volunteer their little pearls of wisdom and
having a shower.
Support is lovely. Having a shower.
On your holidays.
Bouncy chair. She was like in the chair. Drag them in the bathroom with you. She was saying.
Your days. Enjoy the next 4 months, because your days of going to the loo on your own. Totally over.
Exactly. But yeah, building in support for things and talking to other mums, you know, building your village. I say to women, build your village during pregnancy, because when you've had your baby, you really need to call upon them for those little pearls of wisdom and advice. Okay, so what do I do here? You've got your WhatsApp group at, you know, when it feels like the rest of the world's asleep and you're up, you need support. So, you know, it's about building that support in while you've got the time to.
And for the baby sleeping, so obviously I think, because I suppose as a new mum, you think very much about the baby sleeping, but you know, we do need to focus on mum and dad and anyone else who's helping out to sleep. But what about baby routine in terms of getting into a good sleep habit for the baby?
So to be completely honest, there's no escaping some level of sleep deprivation as a new parent. Newborn babies have very small tummies, so they need to feed very regularly, and that's normal newborn behaviour. We have set expectations of babies to behave in different ways that are unrealistic for their physical bodies. So especially if you're breastfeeding as well, you know, women think, oh, I haven't got enough milk or my baby's really hungry. And actually, a lot of the time, it's just normal newborn behaviour. They want to feed very regularly. And not only that, there is some good news coming, don't worry. Not only that, if you think about it from a baby's perspective, your baby is born into an environment that's 15 degrees cooler. They've never seen clear light before. They've never heard clear sounds before. They've been very used to hearing the whooshing around the womb, your heart rate. Then suddenly they're expected to just go in a cot and sleep by themselves independently. It's scary for them. You know, if you imagine if us three now got dropped into another universe and everything that we knew was, you know, taken away and everything was slightly different, and then you had someone like your partner just come and say to you, oh, you know, I'll just hold your hand and say, it's okay, I'm here. You know, how reassuring would that be? And that's what newborn babies need. They need to be in skin to skin with their mum or another guardian, whoever's providing care for them. They need to have that bodily communication, because they're still very much an extension of their mum's body within that first 3 months. So we have these expectations of babies to just do things that are very unrealistic for them. Frequent feeding and needing to be picked up and cuddled is normal newborn behaviour, and you won't make a rod for your own back. Right. And the good news is it is short-lived. You know, the time when they really need this regular skin-to-skin contact and they need a lot of input from you and are still an extension of your body, that is really only for the first 3 months. And their circadian rhythm is very immature. So they don't really have any concept of day and night. So you can't get them into a bad routine. There's no such thing as having a bad routine in those early days. So just go with what you and your baby need and listen to your maternal instinct, rather than maybe someone telling you, put that baby down, you'll make a rod for your own back. Yeah. You won't.
Right, thank you. That's
and
really
put them
helpful.
next to the washing machine. I think that's
really, is that
the washing machine is.
They love that.
Yeah,
really. The washing machine works a treat.
You'll be looking at the washing machine a lot anyway. Let me tell you. Right. But yeah, they love the washing machine.
Yes, and that's because they've been used to hearing noises. A lot of the time, people think that babies like quiet. Actually, they don't, because they've been hearing this constant noise of your heartbeat, and your bowel sounds not so glamorous, but you know, all different things in your tummy. They're listening to these things constantly, and then all of a sudden, you know, it's all very quiet, and this is a really alien world to them. When they're in skin to skin with you or close by to you, they can hear your heartbeat again.
Have you seen these things you can buy, that toys and things that emulate that, have that sound?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is
that a good road to go down, do you think, or worth a try?
Yeah, worth a try. Yeah. And anything that, any kind of white noise or background noise, you know, if you want to get one of those products, yeah, absolutely give it a go. But simply the washing machine, hair dryers, that's another Hoovers.
Really? This is brilliant, thank you.
Yeah, Hoovers, yeah, all those kinds of things
no one
babies
tells
love.
you. Yeah. Amazing.
I mean, it's great. I love that idea, your notion of making a postnatal plan, because that's really important. And I've always said, actually, having the baby is like doing your basic degree. Being pregnant, is like doing your basic degree. The baby, that's like the PhD or the professorship. That's a whole other thing, and it's a long gig.
Yeah, oh, it is.
So it's trying to have a plan, really. I think, and actually, I guess catching up on as much sleep this side of the baby.
Does it
as
work?
you can.
Can you acquire? You know, what's the word? if I catch up on as much sleep as I can now, can I store it? Like, do my batteries fill up and then they'll last me for a little while? Like, I hope so. No, you're like, no, that is not happening.
Not quite. But I suppose what you don't want to do is you don't want to enter it with a sleep debt.
Yeah.
No, exactly.
Start struggling.
Yes.
I guess now feels like a good time as well at 6 months. For the first trimester, it's like get to the first, like we were saying before, there's all these milestones and you kind of like just get through this and get through that and now we're sort of getting to a point where we're really, imagining our world beyond the birth and having a baby and everything and, need to start making a plan. Yeah,
exactly. And the other thing that I forgot to mention actually is in the third trimester, the amygdala in the brain is sensitized, and that's again it's
in the third trimester. Did you say?
Yeah, and that's a normal physiological change. So again, if you've implemented a routine now, so you're quite rightly you're saying you've got through the main hurdles, if you like, and now is a really good time to start to implement that routine, because when that does happen towards the third trimester and towards the end of the third trimester, actually you might be able to manage any kind of feelings of it's sensitized.
So
that's so my amygdala.
Yeah, I'm sorry. My
just
amygdala did
everything.
it.
But that's the area of the brain that's responsible for emotional processing, fear, aggression, and it's sensitized towards the end of pregnancy because it's a defense mechanism. So, it just helps with your maternal instinct and being super protective of yourself and your baby. And towards the end of pregnancy, you are in this kind of hyper state of awareness about your own safety. And those feelings are quite normal, to have some level of anxiety and some concern over your own safety. That's very normal. And sometimes women worry about being worried. Yeah. So it's okay. You might start to get those feelings now or towards the end of your pregnancy, but it's learning how to manage those. So implementing routine now, starting hypnobirthing like you're doing, breathing techniques, doing some gentle exercises, introducing a bedtime routine, having a lavender bath. All of these things are creating like a little bit of a toolbox for you that you can use towards the end of your pregnancy and also when the baby arrives.
Good.
It is good. It's really helpful. Yeah, I keep thinking I do feel like I've had those moments, to be honest, from time to time. I think I went down in the tube the other day and came straight back up again. It was just like, no, not doing this right now. Rush hour, no thanks. Yeah. I just didn't want to be around that volume of people and be pushed around potentially and everything. Yeah. And so I just thought in those moments, I'm just trying to honour rather than have an internal battle about,
definitely,
come on, Ali, get on the train, you need to go home. I just thought I'm going to go and have a cup of tea, go and sit down and give myself 20 minutes.
Yes.
And who cares if I'm a bit later getting home, and just build a bit of space around things, because we're so used, especially living in the city, just tearing around all the time.
Busy.
Yeah,
that's it. Absolutely. Yeah. So it goes.
But
back
it's good to know there's a biological reason.
Yeah.
that also may be occurring.
And women, my patients, sometimes they ask me, "Oh, am I being precious, or is it just me?" It's not. You're not being precious. It's not just you. These are normal changes, and that it's part of your, especially with your first baby. It's a huge transition that your mind and your body go through, and there's a lot to process emotionally, and there's a lot to take on as well. So it's, if you don't feel like getting on the tube, don't get on the tube. Go and have a cup of tea. And it's easier said than done sometimes when you have to be somewhere. But as much as possible, if you can honour that space and that time for yourself, it's really, really important for every aspect of your life, including sleep.
So it's the time to be self-indulgent.
Absolutely.
There's no better time. But you're not being self-indulgent. You're just being, you're just protecting.
Self-preservation,
really.
isn't it? A little bit.
Yeah, and I think we underestimate how much women do go through and during pregnancy. And there's a time that I talk about to my patients as well, right at the end of your pregnancy, when you've kind of got one foot in the door of not being a mum because you're still pregnant, and then you've got another foot in the door of motherhood, and you're at this interim period, and it's a very difficult and emotional time, and sometimes you do just need to go and have a cry on your midwife's shoulder, your mum's lap, your partner. These are all normal things, and don't set the bar too high with your expectations of yourself. And if you feel like having a cry, have a cry, you know, let it out.
I might do that. Thank you. Because again, it's that thing of sometimes just hearing another adult say that to you, that you feel like, oh, it's okay, actually, I can be vulnerable and let go and do what I need to do. Because, it is a kind of vulnerable, it's an amazing time, but it is a vulnerable time as well.
Yeah, definitely.
And recognising that everyone else who is pregnant is in the same boat. You know, although it's like life, isn't it? You think people have this amazing time and everything's amazing for them, but inside actually it's entirely different. And we're all probably, you know, pregnancy is very different for everyone, but I think emotionally and physically, a lot of the things that you're struggling with, other people are struggling with, and it's just talking about it and getting that support, whether you get that through your friends, whether you get that online, whether you get that through your midwife. Doesn't matter, whoever gives you that's great.
Absolutely. And like I said, building in that support and just talking to women as you do. I always say that you've got something massively in common. You're either a mum or you're about to become a mum. So ask people randomly on the train.
They go to the manage to go to the loo. A
mum will happily tell you.
I'm really enjoying that about this as well, is that people's willingness to connect. And I've always been one of those people that quite happily spark up a conversation on the train. And so I'm really enjoying that aspect and that sharing, because I think it's important. I think we need it. I need it, definitely.
Yeah, and the more open you are to it, the more you receive it. So you're just enriching really your knowledge base and your friendships, you know. Yeah, it's really important.
It's been fantastic. I mean, thankfully, I'm not going anywhere near having a baby ever again in my entire life. But one thing I would really take from this is that concept of build your village. I love that. Have it ready. It's there. It's ready to go. And then, you know, once you've had your baby, they're all there. And you've got different people for different things.
Absolutely. That is really sound advice.
Yeah. No, it's great. Thank you so much, Marie. And thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
It's been fabulous. And you'll have to come back and tell us how you're getting on with your sleepless nights.
Great. And getting visitors to do things for you.
Definitely. I will take some amazing little tidbits here. Thank you so much.
Don't go around to Ali Bastian's house. You make your own tea.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for watching the Sleep Matters podcast from Dreams. If you enjoyed it, then please press the like button below. And if you want to see more, then you can subscribe to this series.